Hey everyone, it's Your Name here, and I spend a lot of time thinking about the future of work. Specifically, I think about how different generations interact in the workplace. The fact is, every generation has its own unique strengths and weaknesses, and Gen Z is no exception. Today we're talking about the reasons some employers are hesitant to hire Gen Z, and I want to be clear that this isn't about bashing anyone. It's about understanding the perceptions and challenges so we can all work together more effectively. One common issue with Gen Z is time blindness. They understand time but have a different relationship with it. Notifications and constant information flow make traditional schedules tough. This frustrates employers who value punctuality. Being late can seem like a lack of responsibility. We've all heard the jokes about Gen Z and their attention spans, right? How long can you focus when you're used to scrolling through TikTok videos at lightning speed? This is a real concern for some employers. In a world of constant stimulation, staying focused is tough. Look, I get it. Gen Z grew up with technology at their fingertips. They're digital natives, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes you need to be able to think for yourself, to solve problems without relying on an app or Google. And sometimes you actually have to talk to people face to face. I know, radical, right? But seriously, those interpersonal skills are still super important in a lot of work environments. Chapter 4. Lack of resilience. This one's a little bit tricky. Gen Z isn't inherently less resilient. They just haven't faced the same challenges. Like the 2008 recession, employers worry they might not handle setbacks well. Chapter 5. Entitlement mentality. Okay, so this one's a stereotype that gets thrown around a lot, and it's not entirely fair, but the perception is that some Gen Z folks come into the workplace expecting things to be handed to them, like they want the corner office and the big promotion right away without necessarily putting in the time or effort. Now, I'm not saying everyone in Gen Z is like this, not at all, but it's a concern that some employers have. Chapter 6. Difficulty with face-to-face communication. We're all glued to our phones these days, but for Gen Z, digital communication is practically second nature. They grew up texting, DMing, and Snapchatting, so for some, face-to-face interactions can feel, awkward, and that's understandable. But in a lot of workplaces, being able to communicate effectively in person is still really important. It's about building relationships, understanding non-verbal cues, and just generally feeling comfortable interacting with other humans in the real world. Chapter 7, lack of professionalism. Okay, so what does it even mean to be professional these days? The lines are definitely blurring, right? But there are still some basic expectations in the workplace, like dressing appropriately, being on time, and communicating respectfully. And sometimes there can be a disconnect between what Gen Z considers professional and what older generations are used to. It's like showing up to a job interview in ripped jeans and a band t-shirt might fly in some industries, but in others it's a big no-no. Chapter 8, insufficient experience. This one's pretty straightforward. Gen Z is, by definition, the youngest generation in the workforce. So naturally, they're going to have less work experience than older generations, and that's okay. Everyone starts somewhere, right? But some employers might be hesitant to hire someone who doesn't have a ton of experience under their belt. They might be looking for someone who can hit the ground running, who already knows the ropes. Chapter 9, job hopping tendency. Gen Z is all about job hopping. They're constantly looking for the next best thing, and there's some truth to that. The job market is different now. There's more emphasis on work-life balance and finding a job that aligns with your values. But for employers, this can be frustrating. Hiring and training new employees is expensive. Chapter 10, preference for instant gratification. We live in a world of instant gratification. You can order takeout on your phone and have it delivered in minutes. You can watch any TV show you want whenever you want. So it's understandable that this desire for instant gratification would spill over into the workplace. But the reality is, most things worth having take time and effort. Building a career, developing new skills, earning promotions, these things don't happen overnight. Chapter 11. Overemphasis on personal branding. In the age of social media, everyone's trying to build their personal brand. We're all curating our online personas, showcasing our best selves to the world. And for Gen Z, who grew up with social media, this is even more pronounced. But sometimes this focus on personal branding can come across as self-centered or even narcissistic to employers. It's like, are you more interested in promoting yourself or in doing the actual work? Chapter 12. Lack of loyalty. This one's tough because it ties into the whole job hopping thing we talked about earlier. There's a perception that Gen Z is less loyal to their employers than previous generations. And again, there's some truth to that. If you're not happy in your job, if you don't feel valued, if you're not being challenged, why would you stay? But for employers, this can be frustrating. They invest time and resources in training their employees, and they want to know that those employees are going to stick around. Chapter 13. Discomfort with hierarchical structures. Traditional hierarchies, with their rigid chains of command and top-down decision-making processes, can feel stifling to Gen Z. They're used to a more collaborative, flat world where everyone has a voice and ideas can come from anywhere. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, a lot of companies are realizing that embracing a more flat organizational structure can lead to greater innovation and creativity. Chapter 14. Overconfidence in abilities. Confidence is a good thing, right? You need to believe in yourself and your abilities to succeed, but there's a fine line between confidence and overconfidence, and sometimes Gen Z's confidence can come across as arrogance or even entitlement to older generations. It's like, you might be smart and capable, but you still have a lot to learn. Chapter 15. Lack of boundaries between work and personal life. Technology has blurred the lines between work and personal life. We're constantly connected, constantly available. And for Gen Z, who grew up with smartphones and social media, this is even more pronounced. They might not see anything wrong with answering work emails at 10 p.m. or taking a business call during dinner. But for some employers, this can be a red flag. They want employees who can disconnect after work, who can prioritize their personal lives. So what does it all mean? So there you have it, reasons why some employers might hesitate to hire Gen Z. Every generation faces unique challenges and stereotypes. Remember when millennials were the ones everyone worried about? Generalizations are rarely helpful. Gen Z brings valuable skills and perspectives. It's about bridging the gap, understanding each generation and working together. Dear FTBA, don't forget to be awesome.